Hi everyone, I am aiming for a more relaxed video today. I feel like the world needs a little more relaxation and peace. So I hope you don't mind the slow pace of this video. Sweetie thought she'd come along and show you her lovely face. So here she is. Come on in, baby. There she is. She's happy really. Today's video is all about the Waft from the Loft. This is a fragrance collaboration between Sarah McCartney from 4,160 Tuesdays and the Wafts from the Loft, who are a fragrance channel. Dan and Joe, I'm sure you know who they are. They do amazing fragrance reviews. They have very specific tastes. They know what they like. And they've collaborated with Sarah to create a scent that represents the loft, the church from where they do their reviews. This was a crowd-funded event, and I went for the two small 15ml bottles. One is a parfum and one is an eau de parfum. So that one is the eau de parfum. I love these 15ml, they are brilliant. If you are a fragrance collector, you probably have too much perfume. So the fact that you can get a 15ml is amazing. So here's the parfum. The juice colour is different, slightly darker. The parfum is slightly darker, that's the parfum. So just a bit. Now the materials in both concentrations are the same. It's made from 42 materials, but the amounts of each material used are different. So the parfum is obviously going to have more perfume oil in it, and the eau de parfum will have slightly less. But the actual ingredients are slightly balanced differently to make the parfum a little richer and I guess a little more deep. The idea of the fragrance is to have not just the loft itself, but the secret garden out the back, and also the fact that this church has had Dan and Joe spraying hundreds of perfumes. So those perfumes have landed in the furniture around, and there's an ambience of perfume in the area. So what Sarah didn't want to do is to create a churchy fragrance because there's so many already. So she wanted to do something a little bit different. So there's the garden accord and the loft accord and the sort of old perfumes accord. So there's amber, there's lots and lots of resins, but there's also some green notes and some floral notes. I will list some of the notes on the screen for you, but really the best way to experience the fragrance is to not think too much about the notes. Instead, think about the images that the scent captures or creates in your mind. So let's spray. Let us spray. Let's spray. I'm going to go with the eau de parfum on the left wrist. So here we go. So even though it's only a small bottle, it really does spray out quite a decent amount. And then we go with the parfum, of course, on the right wrist. And we're going to do 3 of that as well. And I'm just, it's running in rivulets, so I'm just using the nozzle to spread it out a little bit. I've got Sweetie here on my lap, taking ownership of me, as per usual. So let's have a little sniff of the eau de parfum. To me it smells almost a little bit boozy, like a liqueur that's been aged in an oak barrel. I don't know why I'm getting that. It has a green, dark greenness to it. It smells like the woods or the forest. Lots of greens and woods. Very deep scent. It feels like a cold weather fragrance. Not much on the sweetness. Certainly no sugary or vanilla-y type notes at the moment. The first time I smelled both of these fragrances, they brought to mind a big pile of autumn leaves, all the different colours and different shades of brown, crispy, dried leaves, but a massive pile of them. That's what came to my mind. Another thing that came to mind is another fragrance is called Tobacco Rose by Papillon, and in the dry down of that, it's really quite savoury and also brings to mind sort of dried leaves, greens and browns, and of richness, and I'm getting a similar feel to that. There's something else coming through that's adding another layer. There is something sweet now, just a little tiny hint of sweetness. Almost like a sweet leather or a sweet suede. It might be osmanthus. I know there's osmanthus in here, and that can smell a little bit apricot-y and a little bit leather-like. So that combined with everything else just makes it a little more interesting. It does smell a bit boozy though. A little bit like a cognac. As I say, cognac aged in oak barrels. If they do that, I don't know. So let's have a look at the parfum. This feels slightly less green. It's a bit drier maybe. It has a different tone to it. I still get a hint of sweetness, but maybe not so much on the apricot-y leather. Maybe a little bit more of an ambery sweetness, but not vanillic, and not those lovely soft resins that I like benzoin at the moment. Probably more of the labdanum, which is a darker and can be leather-like. There's definitely labdanum in here. This is darker in tone, so whilst the eau de parfum feels like a big pile of leaves that are all different shades of browns and golds and greens and reds, it's almost like those leaves are all dark brown with the parfum. Maybe it's a little more smoky. At the moment, my preference is for the eau de parfum because it feels a little sweeter a little lighter, easier. But they're both very multi-layered. There's a lot going on in here. But in the Eau de Parfum, I think I'm detecting a tiny hint of vanilla. It's definitely sweeter and more my style, the Eau de Parfum. The Parfum is just a little more heavy going, but it's not unwearable to me at all. Just a little more woodsy, a little more green, a little darker. Whereas I'm getting a lot more sweeter elements from the Eau de Parfum. So I'm going to take these wrists on a walk, and do you know what? I'm going to bring you along. Let's go for a walk in the woods. Well, we're not in the woods yet. I've only just driven down to this bit. But I had to tell you a little update. So we're only talking about 10 minutes since we last spoke. But I'm actually starting to really enjoy the Parfum a little bit more now. It's got a sort of a more of a rosy depth to it. Yeah, there's more of a floral element that's coming through in the Parfum that's not quite there at the moment in the Eau de Parfum, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm also noticing a cedar wood. There is definitely cedar wood listed, and it's a lovely clean musky woodsy accord, and I'm really enjoying that. So now we're in the woods, and I feel like I'm wearing a camouflage perfume. I know the fragrance is designed to smell of the church and the garden and some of Dan and Joe's favourite notes. To me, it smells like the woods in a really nice way, in a way that's not too heavy. It doesn't go too green. I don't generally enjoy green fragrances, and whilst there are green elements, this isn't a green fragrance. If anything, it's brown, but brown in a good way, because I like colour, pinks and purples, but this is a brown fragrance, a very natural, woodsy, with this hint of floral incense. Like it's the Parfum smells a little bit like a rose incense with all the other natural green and brown elements. Let's check the Eau de Parfum now. The Eau de Parfum feels more heavy with the browns and greens, and less at the moment with any floral notes. So currently I'm preferring the Parfum, but anything can happen. So a little check-in. Here's the forest, woods. It's woods, I guess. And still the favourite in the front running for me is the Parfum. Just feels like there's a light smoke, some beautiful resins, a little bit of a rosy feel, and all that natural woodsiness. The feeling of both concentrations is very airy. So despite being an autumnal kind of scent, it's very ethereal and light in the air around me. There's nothing heavy or thick about it. Also, I'm not getting any animalics. There are animalic notes listed, and there's real oud in here as well. But I'm picking up nothing funky or hard to smell, nothing challenging, which is a good surprise for me. It might not be what people are expecting, because Dan and Joe really love their funky animalics. That may well come out in a bit, but for me at the moment, this is a really easy wear. It feels very natural. It's not completely my style, because I usually like things with more sweetness. Anything sweet is very, very, very light, so the amber resins type stuff at the moment is kept very light. It may well come out a bit more later on, but I have to say the parfum for me at the moment is the winner. So just a little update. Mostly what I'm getting now from the parfum is this lovely, clear, clean, crisp, woodsy, sort of musky cedar. There is timber silk in the mix, which is an ISO super type aroma chemical. There's also an ambrox type aroma chemical, but this doesn't feel like one of those aroma chemical abominations. It doesn't have any connection to something like Sauvage, for example. This is a very clear, clean, crisp woods. There is natural cedar, and I think that's really helping. You just get a hint, tiny hint now of the florals. I feel like the florals are backing away, and just a whisper of a very clean smoke. I wouldn't call it incensey, but it just kind of like gives a slight incensey type feel, but it's a whisper. It's just a whisper. If anything, I would say the eau de parfum is a little more multi-layered at the moment. It seems to me, or to my nose, to be a bit more going on with it. It's a bit richer actually than the parfum, which you wouldn't expect, but my preference I think is still for the parfum. I really enjoy this soft, clean, musky woods with that whisper of smoke. That really suits me. The eau de parfum feels a little more moist. Who likes the word moist? Comment below. And yes, I guess it's this sappiness that I feel, almost like a fir pine, but not in any way pine floor cleaner or anything like that. Element that I've been getting from both concentrations is like a dry, dusty hay type scent, and it's reminding me of Chez Noir from Bido Parfums, and as I said earlier, a little bit of tobacco rose. So if you like those kind of fragrances, I have a feeling you'll like this. Also, I think if you like Francesca Bianchi's Etruscan Water, it's not that similar, but I feel that if you like that, there are some similar components, and you probably like the Waft from the Loft. There you go. That was 2 hours of wearing both fragrances, so please don't take this as a full review. I can't comment on the longevity at the moment, but I can always add that into the description a bit later on. Overall, I think they are really nice, natural smelling fragrances if you like things that are dry, woodsy, green nuanced, then with some other subtle characteristics that gently come into play throughout the wearing. I really like that you notice different things It keeps it interesting. I like that they're not animalic, and I like that they're not hard to wear. They're definitely easy to wear. And I also like the transparency. Even though when you first spray them, they feel a little loud, but they both calm down very quickly, and they just have this airy feel, so that you can feel the fragrance, but you can also feel the air around you. And that's how I like my perfumes for the most part. These are not beast mode type fragrances. They are classy, just like Joe and Dan, and of course Sarah. What else would you expect? I'll be putting all the information in the description box below. I don't think there's going to be too many of these left, so if you are interested, you probably want to move a little faster than the pace of my talking at the moment. That's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video.